Collective Whisper podcast with Simon King. Good afternoon, everybody. Good evening, good night, wherever you are and what time it is. I'd like to welcome David Procter from New Zealand, via Turlockmore, who's with us today. Dave is a bassist and guitarist and a very busy man and well-known musician around Galway and New Zealand. Hello, Dave.
Yay! It worked.
How are you?
I'm brilliant, man. It's a miracle.
Jesus, you're looking great.
I'm feeling great, man. It's just like the first even Zoom type thing that I've even done.
Really? This is the first time you've ever done this?
Yeah, all the way through all the lockdowns. See, I'm not working, so I don't have to put up with all this crap. All my other friends are bored shitless sitting at home in their pajamas doing their work.
Wow. It's great to see you. It's been a long time, no?
It has been a long time, yes.
Jesus, it's really been a long time. Like, I'm here 7 years now, and I don't know how long I saw you before I left or when it was, but it must be 8 or 9 years.
Dude, you just have to speak slow because that Spanish accent's getting to me now.
Oh, it's really bad. I'm a gringo now. So how's everything? Are you keeping well?
I'm keeping better than I was at the beginning of the year, which when I was diagnosed with cancer, as you probably know. Yeah, but I'm absolutely fine now.
But I mean, everybody's talking about this being a bad year, but it's been a tough year for you now, no?
Oh, yeah, but you don't realise unless you're up there at UHG how much of an epidemic cancer is, because it makes the whole COVID thing look like nothing, you know. And everyone's in there, little kids, old people, you know, it's everybody.
Yeah. My mom had her own battle last year, around this, last October now, and she got over it. She had cancer of the esophagus, and she's doing great now. You know, she was getting the treatment and getting CBD oil, and so she's doing brilliant. And the cancer's gone, and she's 73. So hopefully it won't come. But you never know. But the thing is, yeah, she had a tough few months, and you know yourself, the chemo is hard work, isn't it?
Oh, the chemo was tough, but yeah, I'm just so happy and grateful to be here now.
What's the weather like? I see the trees blowing a little bit behind you.
Oh, that's the tropical breezes, man. Yeah, look, I'm in my shorts.
Yeah,
look,
you're in Bermuda, and they're short shorts.
Look, I got flip flops.
Brilliant.
Yeah, no, I got the heating on. It's okay. And with the heating on, I have to wear. It's just too hot.
If you want to curse or anything, say bad words, don't worry about it. This is an explicit show.
You're the Howard Stern of Barcelona.
I'm the Howard Stern, of Madrid, not Barcelona.
Oh, Madrid.
Madrid, yeah.
You'll get there one day.
I'll get to Barcelona one day. So here, I have a cup of tea, so cheers. I'm no beer at the moment. I've no beer, so...
That's okay. I'm off the beer. I'm off the drugs.
You're off the beer and the drugs. Okay.
Well, not the high-tech cancer-saving-your-life drugs. Not those drugs. I'm definitely on those.
You have the CBD without the THC.
No, I even gave up the CBD.
Really?
It's really annoying because I've got a shitload of weed, and I thought, nah, don't need it.
Wow. You can send it over to me.
No, Spain has plenty.
For sure. How are you dealing with the whole lockdown situation?
Well, this is my second lockdown. I've been keeping myself amused, playing guitar again for the first time in a long time, and doing a bit of light reading.
Oh, very good. The Norse Myths.
The Norse Myths.
So for anyone who can't see it, this is the Norse Myths. Who's the author?
It's a gentleman from Cork called Dr. Tom Burkett. Yeah, very amusing.
It's a factual book rather than a fictitious.
It is the Norse myths, and you know, so it is what it is. Whether it's fictitious or not.
Yeah. Well, there's always a bit of drama thrown in with the Vikings, isn't there? For sure.
Oh, there is.
Yeah. And are you with the lockdown? You said this is the second one for you as well. Like, which one was more difficult, the first one or this one?
Well, I think the first one because I got diagnosed with cancer at the beginning of the year, just before it happened, and luckily my family, my sister and my brother, were able to come over for a week before it really got locked down. They managed to leave the country just in time as well, which was great. But the first lockdown, when I got out of the hospital, was really bad. Simply because I had a whole lot of things going on with my body. Like I had a catheter bag in for about 6 weeks after leaving the hospital, and had to try and manage that. And keep. I was working at a local electronics store, and had to keep them abreast of what was going on, etc., etc. So no, it was very tough because everything shut down except the local gas station, except the pharmacy, and except the doctors. Everything else was shut, and the supermarket. This is like a kind of a lockdown that, like, stuff is still open. Like the hardware stores are open now. You've got appliance stores still open, and you've got people sort of they're obeying the rules, but there's still a lot of people just driving around doing whatever the hell they want. So it's not as strict as it was last time, but I have to be very careful because I'm at high risk still because I'm still receiving cancer treatment. You see,
At any stage during the whole lockdown, did you get any flus or anything? Did you have any
no,
scares?
no, not at all.
No.
So, well, the wife kept working, but she was in the office on her own. So no, I haven't had anything like that. I've been very fortunate. All I was doing was going to the doctors, going to the pharmacy, and then coming home again, and that was it for however many weeks it was. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that's good. That's good. So Dave, let's go back a little bit. So, how many years are you in Ireland now?
Well, I moved here in June. What was it? June 2007. Yeah, so it's a good few years now. It's over a decade anyway.
Yeah, and was it a big culture shock from Wellington? Did you come from Wellington at that
No,
time? You
no,
did.
no. We came from Auckland. No, it wasn't a big culture shock at all. No, no. It's very much like New Zealand, except you don't have the Asians. There's a huge Asian, and you don't have the Polynesian and the Maori cultures. You don't have that here. But the
We have our own type of Maoris.
I, yeah, well, yeah. I was about to say the Irish are very much like the Maoris. The big 3-day funerals, the heavy drinking.
Yeah, so somebody said that to me once. They said, I never realized until I went to New Zealand that we had our own Maoris in Ireland. They're not like ethnically, they don't look the same, but the same characteristics and the same type of culture and around drinking and everything. So it's crazy.
Big families and all the rest of it. Yeah.
You were born and grew up in Wellington, didn't you?
No, well, no, I was born in Wellington, and we left Wellington when I was 5 years old. My
Okay,
father, my
okay.
father was in the Air Force for many years, and he was transferred to Auckland. Uh,
Oh,
there was a
interesting.
huge gap between my sister and myself. I'm the youngest, and then there was like a 9-year gap between me and her. All before that, they spent the whole time being transferred around different military bases and in the South Pacific as well, Fiji, for example. So they got dragged all around the place. I got it at the very end where it was all settled and the folks that actually had some money. So, of course, being the youngest, I was sport rotten.
Yeah, so didn't travel as much as your brothers and sisters. No.
No, but I've made up for it in later life now.
Yeah, yeah, you did your bit. And was your dad what was his job in the Air Force? Was he working as a mechanic or a pilot or
No,
what?
I think his last role was a flight lieutenant. But like to be honest, I was so young, I didn't really know what his role was. And then by the time I sort of got old enough, he had moved on from there to another government job. So he left the Air Force at that point. But I think he left at the end of the Vietnam War. But yeah, so from what I heard, every now and again he was on Hercules transport planes and that, and going into Southeast Asia and that places like that. Yeah, but like he joined the Air Force when he was very young, so yeah, he'd been through the whole thing.
You left Wellington when you were 5. Where did you go then?
We moved to a place called Northcote in Auckland, which is which is where I went to school. So yeah, I went to primary school there, intermediate school, and college there. Like I was the only one left at home by the time I'd sort of reached college. So yeah, I had the free run on the place. It was great.
When you look back now, did you have a happy childhood there in Auckland? Did you really enjoy it?
It was Auckland was great. Uh, there's lots of beaches and things like that. Like any family, there are ructions in the family,
Of
so
course.
the home life could be rough. Uh, in the end, I sort of found solace in playing guitar and going surfing and stuff like that. Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Okay. And like as it in that town when you were a teenager, besides playing music, what you had other hobbies like surfing, and did you do other things as well?
Yeah, yeah, I did a bit of skateboarding too. I did a bit of whacking school. No,
Yeah,
I did a
everyone
lot
does a
of
bit
it.
of that.
Yeah, I mean, if the surf was good down at one of the beaches, like I would disappear with a surfboard.
Looking out the window.
Yeah, yeah, so stuff like that. But going back there now, the whole culture of the place has changed. The local shopping centre was built in the 1950s, and at that time, it was a very sort of how should I say, a white New Zealand culture, and then and you would had the Maori, a certain degree of Maori people and Polynesian Pacific Islanders. Now, if you go to that same shopping centre, it's just full on Chinese and just Asian groceries, sushi. Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, literally all of the businesses are now Chinese businesses. Yeah,
So it's really changed.
yeah.
Wow. Was your mom and dad, were they both from Wellington originally, or where were they from?
Well, my father was from Auckland. Yeah, I mean, you're talking about people who were born in the 1930s in the middle of the, the Great Depression. So he was born in Auckland. He was the youngest, again, of nine. I think he had nine sisters ahead of him. So yeah, yeah, big family. And my mother, she was part Maori. She was born in a rural part of New Zealand, very isolated part of New Zealand. Uh, to give a comparison, like my father grew up in a Victorian villa, and my mother, the house she was born in, had a dirt floor. So huge difference. It would be like a house in Connemara versus a house in Dublin back in the 1930s. So she ended up being a nurse. He was in the Air Force. They went out for a dance. One thing led to another. Yeah, as it does.
That's interesting. All right, when you see people from different backgrounds and they get together, and of course, then
And culture.
yeah,
Yeah.
and cultures, and the next story then obviously is where their life goes from there. But your dad had an interesting life moving around, and your mom too, because she was involved in it all. Did she work while your
Yeah, well,
dad
the
moved
thing
around?
is, she started out being a nurse. So she was a nurse before she met my father, and she also sung and played in a big band. She was a singer in one of the big bands.
Okay, okay.
So that sort of thing. So I mean, they traveled around a lot when they were first married, and it was the culture at the time that the man was the breadwinner, so she was not allowed to work. Now that a lot. Can you imagine that today and the culture? No, you're not going to work. You're going to stay home.
No, yeah, that's your job. Yeah, but I mean that was it, and that used to be the same in Ireland too. I remember my mum and dad, and I always remember my mum when she was, after my dad died a few years later. My mum was like at that time, what? Let me see. She was probably in her late or 60s. She decided to go back to university, and she had been a housewife all her life. So it was like, here's something I've missed that I want to do. But that was the thing. That was the norm for women in that kind of culture, whether it be in New Zealand or Ireland. You stay at home, look after the kids. I'll go and make the money, and that's the way it is.
It was a bit more than that. It was him putting his foot down. You're not going to work. So it was a lot tougher back then. You don't have the same rights I have. So basically. But the funny thing was, it is crazy. But look, and I would go to university myself now, and I'm in my 50s uh, to do this, that, and the next thing. If it wasn't for COVID and all these students spreading all around the place, just wanting to bunch and party and drink all the time. Yeah. Now, there's plenty of online courses I could do. But that aside, the funny thing was, me being the youngest, when I came along, which is in 1967, now I was born. My brother and sister were born in the end of the 1950s. But when I came around, my mother was definitely working at that point, and I found out it was because he never used to give her any housekeeping money. So, so yeah, you were stuck at home with no money. You could do anything with this husband who wasn't going to give you any money to pay for stuff. So, yeah, she went out and just did what she wanted in the end. And sure, he had to like it. He had to lump it.
That was very common, wasn't it? Because I know with my own dad as well, he loved the horses and the drinking. And unfortunately, that was the problem in those times was men felt, oh, I worked hard and I deserve to have my few drinks and have my vices and so on.
It's funny because in New Zealand at that time, all the pubs closed at 6 p.m. in the evening. So the guys would rush out of their jobs and go straight into the bars and then strip themselves silly and then go home and beat up the wives. Yeah, and all this sort of crack. Now, my father found out, and rather early, I would imagine, that he actually married a bit of a warrior princess. So she wasn't going to put up with this. So the funny thing was, all the pots and pans in our house had big dents in them.
Your dad was on the receiving end.
Yeah. He'd come home and start throwing stuff around, and then watch out, wallop.
Yeah. Well, I mean, fair play to her because, that's the thing. There was a lot of women that couldn't stand up for themselves. And it's great to hear of someone who could, because imagine how many more women would be dead or in the grave if they couldn't stand up for themselves.
That's right. And the other thing was sticking around in a bad marriage for the children.
For the children, yeah. That was the common thing.
But I moved when I moved out, they were still together, but they weren't really, They're still living under the same roof. They were still under the same roof, but they're all off doing their own things. She was making her own money, and
Yeah. Are your parents both alive still, or?
No, they're long gone. Yeah, back in the 19th. Yeah, my mother died suddenly at work. Funnily enough, she got a headache one day, and had to go and lie down. And unfortunately, she didn't wake up again. She got taken to hospital, and it was an aneurysm.
How old was she?
Oh, geez, she was about 63. Yeah, look, she was only 10 years older than I am now. Yeah, and the dad, he developed bowel cancer. Too much KFC, I'm afraid, and red meat. And it took him about 5 years to die. So yeah, it's quite funny because his father, who was also David Procter, he died of lung cancer as a result of asbestos poisoning. My father died of bowel cancer, and here I am with prostate cancer.
Wow, and this is the thing. So yeah, it spread through the three David Proctors. And how old was your dad when he went?
He was about 64.
So similar age to your mum.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So if I can crack out another 10 years, Simon, I'll be happy.
Wow. Well, don't worry, you will. You'll be like, that's my timeline. You will.
Oh, no, my plan is to kick it all completely and go in for a CAT scan one day and have the professors baffled.
Yes, well, that's what you want. How long after your mum died did your dad die? How many years apart was it?
Oh, a good 6 or 7 years.
Was it one of these things when she died? Did it completely change him? I mean, maybe he was lost without her.
No, I don't think so. It's hard to say because at that time, men don't talk about their feelings. I'm the exception to the three David Proctors. I don't care who knows. Just be aware of that. Cancer is a thing, and people need to go and get their prostate checked.
Yeah, I know. We're going to talk about that, and we're going to. By the time this is over, everyone's going to be booking appointments. We're going to try and do that.
Yeah.
So come here.
Yeah, listen. It's only a blood test first. It's only a blood test. It's not the finger straight away. Okay.
No. It's not the doctor with the big finger.
Two fingers here. Yeah. I was very lucky. I had a very sexy female doctor.
So when you came home to your wife, you went, wow, and it was a woman and two fingers, so it wasn't bad. so come here.
Yeah. Lucky I can laugh about
well, of course. Well, that's all you can do now is laugh, So listen, one question I was thinking there when you were talking about the town, how big was the town? Was it like 2,000 or 3,000 people or more?
So at that time, there would have probably been 800 to 900,000 people living in the 1960s there. And Auckland today is even though it's not the capital, it's the biggest city. There's probably about 1.5 to 1.7 million people living there.
Your town in particular, was that a small town like in Auckland? No, or was in the city?
So it's all broken up into suburbs. If you could imagine a town the size of Dublin, and how Dublin has taken over all uh, the out- the counties around it. Yeah, so and all the boroughs. Yeah, it all becomes one. Now it's called a super city. It's a super city now. Yeah, with super high taxes.
Super high taxes, I can imagine, and a lot about a thing. And come here, right now, with your family who are in New Zealand, are they all in New Zealand, or are they in different places?
No, they're all in New Zealand. Yeah, I did have a niece who was teaching English in South Korea, but she's married now and living in the south of New Zealand. So everyone's in New Zealand now. But for me, see, it's such a hassle now. If I wanted to go down to New Zealand, I would land at Auckland Airport, go through customs, and then be put on a bus straight to a isolation hotel for 2 weeks. For 2 weeks, there's no just getting off and going somewhere to isolate because I don't trust people to do that. So and if if you're a foreigner, you get stuck with a bill for 4 grand to cover that 2 weeks.
Really? So they charge
If you're
you?
a New Yeah, yeah, if you're a New Zealander and you're planning on staying less than 3 months, you get stuck with that bill as well.
So that's really an expat living in Ireland or England goes home for a month and they get a bill.
Listen, anyway, everyone knows what the thing is. You're not going there for a month. You're going to go for at least 3 months and not pay that bill.
Right, right. That's the only way of doing it.
Well, that's the only way they've found of trying to keep the coronavirus out in New Zealand.
Wow. And so how has the coronavirus affected your family over there? I mean, how are they doing with it all?
Well, they've been fine, actually. Yeah, I mean, at the moment, I spoke to my sister 2 days ago. There's a big perception that New Zealand is COVID free.
Hmm.
It's not entirely correct. There's about 50 cases there at the moment.
But that's still very good, no?
Yeah, though I think there's only been 1 or 2 people that have died of it altogether since the beginning of the year.
So you think from the beginning they handled it very well?
Well, I think they handled it as well as they could have done. Yeah, I mean, good thing about New Zealand is it's an island nation like Ireland, but it has no open borders at all anywhere. I think the most recent cases to come in came in on ships.
Okay,
Crew that were already infected. Yeah.
We're already infected, yeah, sailors or,
Yeah.
or trawler men or whatever. Okay, and so tell us, let's go. Your wife Mags. Where did you meet? How did you meet Mags?
Well, we were both working in a company in New Zealand that does disability services for handicapped people, shall we say, or people with disabilities. So that's where we met. Yeah.
How many years ago was that?
Ah. Oh, it was 21. It was 21 years ago now.
21 years. Is that what 21 years is silver, no, or platinum? No, it's silver, isn't it?
Well, I asked my wife. Yeah, and she said it was nothing. So.
She's like, the marriage is nothing. Never mind the anniversary. Nothing.
Yeah. Well, because I said, yeah, what should I get? I'll just throw the question out there. No, it's nothing.
Don't worry about it. So you met
literally another 20 years of torture before it's anything.
That's when you get something. The kick in the arse, get out. I don't need to know. So when you met Mags, let's say you're working disability, and did you start dating kind of straight away, or were you working colleagues for a long time?
No. Like when I first met Mags, she had this flaming red hair, right? And I had I have a thing for redheads.
Good job, I'm not a redhead.
Yeah, well, and female.
And female, yeah, female, okay.
And female, yeah.
And female, sorry. You should have stipulated that.
To be fair, I do like blondes and brunettes as well.
Yeah. You're narrowing it down.
Yeah, I know. The thing was, our first date was we actually went for a meal, and then we went to a movie, and we went and saw Titanic.
Oh God!
Yeah. Oh God, that's right. Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. Is that the
So
best first movie?
yeah, it was quite funny because I was getting all these signals apparently, but I wasn't picking up on them because I'm just a dumb guy.
Oh, okay.
But
Yeah.
sitting next to me, oh, I'm cold. Oh,
Right. Right.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
cold.
Yeah. Here's my
Oh,
jacket. Yeah.
I'm tired. Oh, right. Anyway, she fell asleep. She fell asleep halfway through.
You were like, go over and sit beside the radiator.
So, well, I must have ended up doing something right because I'm still
You're still together.
around.
Yeah. So, what was Mags's? You're still around at the moment. What was Mags's story? Was she working there for a few years, or she went over young, or what happened?
Well, what happened was that she is the youngest in. Oh no, is she the youngest in her family? She might not be the youngest, but she's the only girl in her family anyway. And her mother died when she was very young. Here, because she's from here in Turlough, which is a farming area. And what she ended up doing back in the early 80s was moving to Scotland and doing some nursing. So she was a nurse. And then she thought it might be a good idea to go to Melbourne nursing. So on her way to Melbourne, she decided she was going to stop off in New Zealand for a holiday and never left.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, well, yes, it is cool. But, see, I don't want to get myself in trouble by revealing too much about her because she's a very private person. But anyway, that's the roundabout story. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But like, lucky for you, she stopped off for a holiday and didn't have quarantine that time, so you got to meet her. Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, you're contemplating that one. You're like, maybe it wasn't lucky for her? I don't know. You're not sure. Tell us then. When did you get married?
We got married in 1999, and and look, we'd been going out for about 2 years, and my dad was very ill with cancer at that stage, and I didn't want to make a big fuss about everything, so we thought, let's just sneak off to Las Vegas and get married. So that's what we did. Now, not knowing that it caused a lot of ill feeling in the family, us doing that.
Right.
Yes. Anyway,
that's what happened, though.
Yeah, well, that is what happened, and I had a great time.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I know because me and Alex got married last year in Las Vegas, and the thing is, we did last October, and the thing is, it does, like, you do it for yourself, and that's who you should do it for. You're the man and woman, or woman and woman, whoever it is. But man and man, yeah, dog and dog, it doesn't matter. The thing is, you do it for yourself. Yeah, that'd be a good one. 2 dogs in Las Vegas. So you do it for yourself, and the thing is, we didn't want a big fuss, and we wanted to kind of be on our own and get married and stuff. So we just met it. But of course, yeah, without saying names, there'll be certain people go, oh, why are they doing that? Or why don't they have a traditional wedding? You'll always get some hostility.
Oh, yeah. Look, it wasn't bad. My dad was happy with that. And yeah, we had fun. And tell me, what chapel did you go to?
We got married we stayed in this lovely hotel called the Artisan Hotel. It was kind of like a rock and roll type boutique hotel. Very nice. No gambling. We didn't want a gambling hotel. So we got married. We got married actually though in the Westgate Hotel in the Elvis's wife's chapel, the Chapel of Crystals.
I didn't realize you were into all that crystal shit too, man. So am I.
No, it wasn't. The name didn't do it for me.
Don't start channeling stuff now.
Don't start channeling right now. Yeah, listen. No, we found this chapel, and it was only the Westgate Hotel used to be the International Hotel in Las Vegas, and that's where Elvis used to play. His residency was, but his wife Priscilla bought Elvis used to officiate the weddings in her chapel, this little chapel, and she still owns it, but I think now it's like a franchise. So every time they get paid, she gets paid a little bit. So the deal is, and when you go in, we didn't have Elvis or nothing like that. We just got married, but on the certificate they have a picture of Elvis, so they're still hanging on to his like image and everything and the whole thing. But it was lovely. It was nice. And Vegas is Vegas. I mean, you have to take it for what it is. It's a little bit tacky, but it's fun. And if you're adventurous, open people, it's great fun.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, we did have Elvis, and he was
Yeah,
funny. He sung "Love Me Tender,"
really.
in the service. Yeah, we got funny. We got married in Circus Casino.
Oh yes, yes,
Oh yeah,
yes.
it's
Wow.
opposite the Riviera, and they've got this nice little. I think it's called Chapel of the Fountain, and we just.
All the names are hilarious. Chapel of the Fountain, Chapel of Crystals.
But
It's
yeah,
like another planet.
it was nice, but the night before the actual service, we thought, yeah, we'll go and do a bit of gambling on the slot machine. So we went down, and while Mags was fumbling, I shouldn't say fumbling. Well, Mags was pulling something out of her
Yeah.
bag. Yeah, all the jewelry fell out onto the floor without a thing. Yeah,
Really? All
yeah,
the rings.
all the rings, like, and not just the wedding rings, like a lot of family jewelry.
I was going to say, all the jewelry she stole.
No, no, but like we're talking like tens of thousands worth of jewels there. And
Wow.
when we got back to the room, she realized that something was wrong.
Yeah.
Panicking. So yeah, I went down to the security desk and I told him, look, quickly lost his rings. Anyway, then he held up this pouch with all the jewelry in the pouch. The pouch that
They found it.
they found it, all right. And what had happened is we had walked away, not realizing that we'd even lost anything.
Yeah.
Some guy had come along and seen it and picked up, and he thought, great, I've just found all the stuff. And then he realized, not God, the eye in the sky. So he went to them, and they saw everything on the camera anyway.
So he went to them.
He had to go and hand them in. Otherwise,
Wow.
otherwise it would have been a knock on the door and the cops would have raided his house, sort of situation. Yeah. So we were very lucky.
Yeah, but you got it back very quickly because
Oh, we did.
he could have said, "Oh, I'm out of here," gone to a pawn shop, sold it for half its value, and then you could have been trying to track it down for weeks.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, it would have been gone. Yeah. But
Yeah.
so we were very lucky in that regard. It was just one of those funny stories.
How many days did you stay in Vegas?
We stayed about 7 days in Vegas and spent about 15 grand in the process.
Oh, I remember you said
fun.
that to me once. You said, I said, did you spend like much money? And you were like, thousands. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was great.
It was good. But it's a one-time thing, isn't it? I mean, you know.
Well, it is now. I mean, who wants to go to America now, really?
But I said that to Alex, my wife, the other day. I said, wow, we were lucky we did it last year. Imagine if we said we'll wait till summer. It would have never happened. We had a 14-day trip. We started driving in San Francisco. We went to Yosemite, Sequoia, Death Valley, Grand Canyon. And then we went to Vegas, got married, spent 4 days. And then we drove to Palm Springs, San Diego, Los Angeles, and finished back in San Francisco to see Metallica with the Symphony Orchestra.
Fantastic.
So it was great. But we did we had 4 days in Vegas and 10 days driving, and in those 10 days we did 3,000 miles. So we were just like constantly going.
Oh wow,
so it was great fun though. It was great fun.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was constantly going too, but it was mainly whiskey.
Whiskey, yeah. You said
whiskey and like steaks this thick, you know. Now I've got friends in America I'd like to go and visit, but I don't think I'd feel safe there, and I don't think I could get Margaret to go there anyway. Not now. Maybe Hawaii. We've been to Hawaii. Hawaii was lovely.
I've never been to Hawaii. I'd say it's beautiful.
I'd go there again. Funny story. We went to Hawaii back in 2011, and we stopped in at LAX in Los Angeles, and we're going through customs, and the passport official's looking at our documents, and then he goes, "Listen, I see on your wife's passport she doesn't have your surname." I said, yeah, she's your surname. And you allow that, do you?
He said.
You allow that? I said, yeah. Surname, you can do it. It was like, yeah. Well, Jesus, how backward is America, you know? But anyway, so it was funny. I laughed. She didn't laugh.
Wow. No, I can't imagine she laughed. Like, you allow that.
Yeah. And like, he just totally ignored her and was just addressing me the whole time. You know,
it's terrible.
The man of the house.
The man of the house. And you're saying to him, if only you knew who the real boss was.
Well, we all have to serve somebody, so
Yeah, wow, that's amazing. So, but that's, I mean, you'll always have that. I think America is such a different place. I mean, there's, it's crazy when you go between states and you start getting towards the Midwest, how things change and people are very different. And even, even in the East Coast, in New York compared to the West Coast, huge difference in the people too.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I think that this last election, you've really seen the differences in America come out.
Yeah,
You know,
come out for sure, for
oh
sure.
yeah, yeah, and it's very much 50 in the end.
And the next shock is going to be in 2024 when he runs again and gets in probably.
Well, if they can even get him out
If
the
they
next
can
few
get him
months.
out. He might say, listen, I'm just going to stay here till the next election, because I think what's going to happen for sure, he's going to get back in unless somebody amazing comes forward as a candidate. And I don't mean Lady Gaga. I know someone said to me, Lady Gaga could run. I'm like, oh God. But yeah, I think he'll be back, and America will continue doing what it's doing. So come here, let's change topic. Let's go on to the music a little bit. So when did you get into music first? Like, what can your earliest memory of wanting to play? And
Yeah, well, I was probably about 8 or 9 years old, and my brother-in-law at the time, he was a bass player in a band, had a really nice Fender bass, and he was letting me play it, and it was actually something I was a bit of a natural at. So learned a few little things from him, and sort of went on from there till I was about 11, and then I got sent off to have guitar lessons.
right,
Yeah, and took up guitar for a while, all through those heady days of the '80s, with the hair and
yeah, yeah.
and the Eddie Van Halen, all that sort of stuff. And then, of course, everybody wanted to be like that. So,
Everybody wanted to be Eddie Van Halen, but in New Zealand in that time, I mean, and between New Zealand and Australia with Midnight Oil and all those types of bands, was there a good scene there at that time?
well, it's a bit like Ireland in that it was good to go and see live music. Yeah, and you had a huge number of international acts come through. I remember I went to see Pink Floyd, and they had the big quadraphonic sound system at Western Springs Stadium, the
Wow,
Flying Pigs and all the rest
the
of it.
Flying Pigs. Yeah, I was going to say
Yeah,
that.
yeah, sculled a bottle of vodka on the way in. You
Why
know,
not? Why
uh,
not? You had to do it.
yeah,
So,
and that
so
was great.
when you look back now, and you were like you were playing bass for a while, and then you started playing guitar, did you say, okay, I want to be a bass player still, or I want to be guitarist more?
Listen, it was always a thing that I wanted to be a bass player, but I also wanted to be a guitarist. So I had to go and experience that, and sort of came around full circle. I've only just started playing guitar again recently.
Right, right, yeah,
Because when I moved to Ireland, yourself, there are many, many quality guitar players here, and yeah, I've done some gigs playing guitar, and it was happy out. But bass is just something I never had to really think much about to do.
it was
Because
more natural for you.
yeah, whereas guitar, it's like, oh yeah, all the pedals, oh Jesus, 6 strings, and then, tiny. And plus, once you play bass and you go back to guitar, it's like playing a kiddie's instrument almost.
Yeah, it's a different thing. It has, and
Yeah.
for some people, excuse me, I remember talking to a guy and he was saying something similar. He said, for me, I always had felt that power in my fingers, whether I was playing a 4 string or 5 string, and the thickness of the strings. And go back playing guitar, it's a different feeling,
Yeah,
it's a
and you're
different feeling.
constantly tuning as well. A bass stays in tune pretty much.
You can have a bass on the shelf for years and you take it down and it's still in tune.
I know that, yeah. No, I just had the reverse of that, where I pulled these guitars that I haven't played in 5 years out of a bag. Now, they had elixirs on them, and it's like the day they went in, and they were in tune. So it's not always that case, but it's only because I haven't been playing them.
Yeah, yeah, they weren't used. They weren't used.
They were just sitting there.
Was it a case when you were younger then and you started kind of playing in bands? Did you get bands together or did you audition for bands? What happened?
No, I just auditioned for bands. I did have a go at writing some tunes, but I found that it's very hard work, man. And you know yourself, there's a lot rallied against new music even today. You know, as
Yeah,
far as
it's very
getting
difficult.
new music and getting stuff out and on the radio. The record companies don't want your new stuff on the radio. They want to keep making money out of the stuff that they've already got and that's been signed. You know, the more artists there are, there's only a certain amount of time for airtime. You know,
Yeah, and the unfortunate thing about it is now radio has become so commercial, and I mean even local radio stations. It's impossible for artists to get their music played. Even like you can have it, you could say, "I'm a local artist. Is there any chance of getting my song played in the radio?" And they're like, "Oh, it's not that easy at the moment because every song they put on has to be approved because they're thinking it's all about the advertisers. So it's all this big factory. It's a
yeah,
factory."
yeah. I think Galway Bay FM will still do it from time to time. And as you found out, there's a local radio station in Lochray.
Yeah, a great radio. This is great. Yeah, this is a great radio station. I mean, it's funny because what I've discovered in the last few months, since we released our last single there with Loch Ray Radio, and also I don't know, there's a guy in Curfin called Big Sam, but there's Freedom Gold Radio. I don't know, have you seen this? It's where some DJs are doing it from their house. And they've set up an internet radio station. And I mean, it's brilliant. There's like one that has a country show, one that has classic hits and different things. But they're probably not making any money at all, but they're doing it for the love of it. They're doing it for the love of it. And they're playing, like, the thing is, if they come across a local artist, they're like, yeah, I'll play it because I've nothing to lose. Because the thing is, I don't have these advertisers breathing down my neck, and I don't have radio programmers and all this kind of malarkey.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough time. So when you were in bands that time, like did you kind of stay with one band for a long time, or did you go between different bands?
Well, you know yourself, bands will start up, they will have a certain
Mm,
life cycle, and
yeah,
then repeatedly things happen in bands.
yes. Bands are hard to keep together.
Oh, yeah, well, you're wrangling a whole lot of different personalities with huge egos some of the time, and, you know, and addictions even. So there's always a band. Yeah, there's always the energy at the beginning. It'll go for a while, and then something will cause it to fold. And you just move on. You either jump ship before it happens, or you do what I like. When I moved to Ireland, what I was doing was I was playing in about 3 or 4 different bands, and that went on for ages until I found a group of people that I was really happy with playing, and we're mainly playing bars and motorcycle rallies, which is great. Uh, Motorcycle rallies would be my favorite gig ever.
Yeah, motorcycle. I remember that a band I used to be in, No Alibi, were like a classic rock band, and we used to love doing the motorcycle rallies because the thing is, it's a shame sometimes you're in a band and like you're doing classic rock and everything, and then you go into a venue and they're like, "Oh, could you do something more commercial?" And we don't want it so heavy, and we don't want it. And you're like, "We're not that heavy. We're not thrash metal. We're playing like Thin Lizzy, Metallica, Guns N' Roses, in Motorhead, but." It's classic rock. But the thing is, on the motorcycle rallies, they love that shit. They want more and more of that.
And the other side of it is anything goes.
Anything
Like
goes.
anything goes.
Yeah, yeah, you exactly. And you can play what you want, you can do what you want, and it's great crack.
Yeah, exactly. As long as you don't upset the big burly cyclists. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You have the thing is with those gigs, as long as you can keep the energy going and give them what they want, and they want to hear the tunes. They want to have fun. And when you can do that, but that's probably getting like, besides the whole COVID thing, that's probably getting more difficult for bands because maybe there aren't as many classic rock cover bands out there anymore.
Well, I think the whole industry here in Ireland is on hold right now. I mean, there's no motorcycle rallies. Hopefully next year, but who knows what's going to happen? I don't think anything will ever be the same again. It's certainly not going back to the normal, whatever the hell that ever was, because everyone's perception of normal is something different anyway.
But I read this morning very briefly that the government are bringing in this new kind of weekly allowance of €325 for musicians. Is that true? Did you hear about that?
No, I didn't hear about that. What I did hear about recently was a friend of mine, Carl Clues, posted it on Facebook. Was there was a funding round for out of work people in the industry, and one of the stipulations was they had to have been in receipt of previous funding from the past 3 years to qualify.
Well, what was previous funding? How would you get that?
Yeah, well, unless you were previously funded, forget about it.
Yeah, but what do they mean, funded by the Arts Council or
Yeah,
what?
yeah. So you've got your big outfits, your big name bands who might have received some funding. So really the money is just going back into the same pockets and the big money go round.
Yeah, but unfortunately, a lot of bands wouldn't have had that funding because sometimes they only give it to select, like maybe theatre groups or some bands, or
That's
yeah,
what I'm alluding to. Basically, it's a big fix.
yeah. I understand. I understand. Without saying names, I know what you mean. Well, that's a shame because right now it's really crazy, and what can musicians do? Because the point is, if they can't go out and play, even if you're a roadie or anything, with bigger bands, you have no income and it's impossible to live, no?
Yeah, well, what the governments, of course, and the British government is a big advocate of this. What they would like you to do is retrain for a job in
Yeah,
computing or something
in
like that.
computing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
or
make
perhaps,
make music with computers.
yeah, or perhaps become a courier driver because that's really big right now.
Yeah, or join the army, maybe join the army, and you're like, as a musician. They're like, no, not as a musician.
No, no, a lot of musicians are too unhealthy because of their lifestyle to even consider something like that. And
It would be funny in that interview, if they're saying, okay, so we have a job for you as a courier, and you're like delivering musical instruments, and they're like, no, it's nothing to do with music, and you're like, oh, what else have you? And they said, we have a job in the army playing the bugle. No, you'd be a soldier. You'd be like, so there's no music involved at all.
no, play the bugle, Jesus.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
the closest
hilarious.
you probably get. There'll be no bass playing, So I remember the first time I met you was with was it, what's his name, John Donnelly's brother, Finton, wasn't it? Wasn't that the first? That was the first time we met.
I can't remember if it was. All I can remember is the first time I met Alexandra.
Yeah. Well, thanks.
And where is she now? Where is she?
She's with me, but she's at work. She's at work. She's at work.
Working.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Good
She's
man.
working. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Get those papers coming in.
Yeah, it's come full circle. She says to me, "You have to stay at home and interview famous people." And I'm like, "I'm on it. I'm on it."
Well, I wouldn't know about famous, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, you're minor going on major celebrity. No, but I remember when I think that was the first time we met. Was I answered an ad for, I think Finton Donnelly was looking for a guitar player, and what's his name? Dermot was playing drums and you were playing bass. Remember that?
In a big shed next to his house.
In the shade in Clare. Remember that?
Yeah, I do now.
That was probably what, 2006 or 2005? No, it was later. No,
2008.
2008. Yeah. So because you arrived 2007. You said. So I remember that. That was the first time we met, and I did that for a few months. I don't know if I left before you did.
Yeah, I stuck it out for quite a few gigs. It was, it was a great pleasure, really.
Yeah. But do you ever see Finton now? Where is he?
I do. I think he's still working for the local council, and I see his brother Johnny.
Oh, John. John's still active in the Go art scene, isn't he?
He still is. Yeah, he's still running Arcana.
Yeah. So tell us now, with you before COVID and everything, were you playing with many bands or just one or two, or what?
I was really only playing in one band called Roadhouse, which is a hard rock band, and that's the band we were doing all the biker rallies, and we were doing a bit of traveling around different venues and that type of thing. And then, of course, I got quite ill, and that all ground to a halt, just as everyone else got stuck out of the music business with the COVID.
Were you getting busier, or was it like, were you doing a lot of gigs every week, or?
Well, we're doing 1 or 2 gigs a week, yeah.
Yeah. And were you still doing a lot of standing gigs? Because, I mean, that's my memories of you.
No, because, I sort of got sick of that. I mean, I'd done standing gigs for Pyramid.
Metaphor.
A whole race of other local bands. Uh,
Remember Metaphor? You remember? You have to remember Metaphor.
yeah, yeah. No, no, no. Who was the
Ronnie was the band leader. Yeah. Well,
Ronnie?
Steve
Yeah, Ronnie
Gibbons. Yeah.
and
So that was
Steve Gibbons. Yeah. Now that just brings me to the time when we
yes.
first
That's
met Alexandra at
yes. The
the
old
old
brewery.
brewery in
Yes.
Oranmore.
Yeah. That was where you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There we were. There we were setting up our gear, and in walks this gorgeous Polish girl, and all the lads turn around and go, "Ooh," and you go, "That's my girlfriend." And we, get out of here! How could that be your girlfriend?
Jesus Christ! How the hell can he be with
Yeah,
her?
that's exactly what we're all thinking.
Yeah. 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 I remember that because I think that was where you. So just to tell the listeners at home, Metaphor was a band I played in, and there was me and Steve Gibbons and Jared Flynn from Lochray, and we had a few different drummers: Jared Flynn, Paul Collins, and Martin Shannon played with us sometimes, but Martin played as a stand-in. So first it was Jared, or so it was Porrick, and then Jared, and it went back to Porrick. I think it was a lot of changes, but uh, Dave used to when Steve couldn't do a gig, I was playing bass and Steve was playing guitar and Ronnie played some guitar and sang. And when Steve couldn't do a gig on guitar, I would go on guitar and Dave would come in on the bass. So you did a good few stand-in gigs with us, I think.
Of course, the old brewery, that was great crack at any time, but that's all gone now.
Yeah, the brewery's gone, but I thought nobody opened it up again since it closed. No, it's not.
Well, yeah, I think it was sold.
It was sold. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, but it was definitely reopened, but I think it was just like having a DJ type of thing.
That was it because it was a great place. I mean, there were so many bands that played in there. You know, you had like what's called them Odyssey played there sometimes as well, and it was a great place.
Yeah, do you remember the guitarist D Hines?
Yeah, D plays with you in Roadhouse, doesn't he?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah, great mate.
So I mean, it had when they look back, they had some great bands playing there and everything, and
And Giovanni's Takeaway was right across the street. And
right across, brilliant food.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Bring it back with the pints. It's great.
Yeah, that was the place you got fat after the gig. For sure. That was the place you'd be like, I'm not going into Giovanni's. I've enough now. Especially, I remember playing there, I think it was 2 nights in a row. And the first night I went, I'll go in tonight, but I won't go tomorrow night. And of course, the following night, had a pint or two and went in. You know, couldn't stay away from the place. So yeah, and for the listeners at home, Dave used to play with me and Alex, who he loves so much, in Collective Whisper. That was about a year, but then we went and had children, and the band kind of fell apart. Then, as it does.
You and Alex, yeah, you and Alex, yeah.
Me and Alex, not me and Dave, because that's the thing, isn't it? It's hard to keep a band together, but of course, with kids, they're brilliant and everything. But when kids come along, everything changes. So for us, you know, even though we would have loved to keep it going, it's just family life gets in the way and things dwindle out.
Yeah, and of course you moved to Spain.
We moved to Spain in 2013. And, you know, it's only now, this year, I haven't really been playing music for a long, long time in Spain because the culture of music wasn't great here. And I fell out of it. And I was just working and everything. And I was, you know, I'm kind of goal oriented. So if I have nothing to be practicing for, I kind of fall out of touch with the instrument. And then the other thing is then I stopped kind of writing songs and everything comes to a grinding halt.
Yeah, but it eats away you though when it's stuff like that happens.
Yeah, it does. It eats. Yeah, because you pick it up and you don't feel it in your fingers, and you're like, oh, I'd love to be playing again. But thank God, before COVID started, I kind of started getting the itch again to write music and play music again. And I thought, look, I was like you in that sense. I was playing in a few different bands, and I was playing bass in one band, playing guitar, and another band's doing acoustic gigs. So I loved the whole cover band playing, you know, gigs. And when I came to Spain, then, you know, I did some like summer resort stuff here for 1 or 2 summers, but it's not the same. And then there wasn't the same type of gigs here, so I never got into it. But then you miss it because gigging is one of these things. It doesn't matter if it's 200 people in a bar or if it's 20,000, it gives you that
Yeah,
buzz,
and
doesn't
what
it?
other job can you actually drink at the same time as well?
It's good, and so now, I mean, that's the thing, and now it's like saying the band thing. We're doing the collective whisper thing again, but we're just doing it with ourselves. And in the future, if gigs ever come around and we ever get around to playing, we'll just hire some mercenaries. The whole band thing is hard to keep a band together. It's very hard. It's very hard.
Oh, it is. Yeah, yeah, it is, especially if there's no gigs, and no money.
And the thing is, unfortunately for original bands now, I was doing I teach English here, and I was teaching in Sony Music last year, and it's crazy the things they tell you that they want out of the artist. The artist has to be able to come in, produce their own videos, produce their own music, be able to sing, dance, be young, be good looking, be sexy, all of these things. And you're like, okay, I'll just get my coat, so I'm leaving. And here, over here, it's all reggaeton. It's all that kind of music. So the whole culture of music's really different now.
Yeah. Well, the only money being made really was doing gigs.
Right. So when did you stop playing this year then? When was it, in March you stopped, or when did you have your last gig?
No, well, the thing is, it was last September was the last gig I had with the band, and to be honest with you, I wasn't feeling great at that point.
Right.
Everything was a sort of an effort to do. Like I'd be flat on my back at home, and then leap up, throw the gear in the car, and drive to Limerick, do the gig, come home, flop out again. And I was working a day job at that time as well, so into work the next day. And I knew I wasn't well because I used to be able to stand up for 8 hours a day, and I was having to sit down all the time and catch my breath, and I was having a lot of back pain. And what I realized was that it was my kidneys, and my kidneys had almost stopped working. And so once I got into the hospital and had some serious tests done, I said, "Listen, your kidneys are failing. This is what the problem is." I said, "Listen, just book me in now. Do whatever you have to do." So yeah, and then I spent 2 weeks in hospital.
When you were actually doing the gig, would find it very hard, like, to keep the stamina up, or?
Uh, Once I was there, I mean, it was fine because it's really only for 2 hours. There was nothing like I didn't have the energy that I used to have for sure. So yeah, there was a lot of just standing there playing rather than leaping around like I used to do.
Yeah, you hadn't the same energy. So come here,
Oh,
let's let's talk a bit about your illness. We're going to do a song later, but while we're on this kind of thing now, when did you first kind of feel there was something wrong?
yeah, as I say, it was late last year. I kept on. See, there was a lot of talk around there being a vomiting bug around, and I would go through these bouts of being sick and vomiting. Uh, and I go to the doctor, get some antibiotics, and it come okay for about a week or so, and then I'd be back vomiting again. So I went in for a few more tests with the local doctors, and they took bloods, and they thought, look, we'll just check your prostate and see if that comes back in bloods. And it came back being a very high level in the blood, so they can check it all in your blood now. So I went and had some other tests. Look, we're going to recommend you for a test at UHG, Galway University Hospital. So I went in there, had a really unpleasant test, as you can
Yeah,
imagine.
with the nice nurse.
No, I'd already had that one, and she was a doctor.
Okay, yeah, right.
So I'd already had that one. Yep, yeah, it's great. So I went for this other test, which basically involves a spike going through your back passage into your prostate. Yeah, so that really hurts.
I can imagine.
Yeah. Anyway, so I was in the day clinic there, and they wanted me to wait around. So they came back and said, "Listen, your prostate is huge. It's blocking your kidneys from working properly, and your kidneys are failing. If we can, we'd like to admit you into hospital right now." So that's what they did, and I ended up having emergency surgery having stents put into my kidneys, and also before that they had to insert a catheter bag. Have you ever had? Have you ever had a catheter bag?
My dad had bad prostate problems when he was alive, and I remember that him saying
Oh,
the pain of putting the catheter in was terrible.
oh, oh, yeah. Well, so yeah, I don't have to say it then. But basically, they could hear me screaming throughout the ward when it was happening. That's how bad it was, and they all felt very sorry for me. Blah blah blah, and then took me up, and then actually they put me in the ICU, and then look,
But can I ask you, Dave, when they said your prostate was very large, could you feel that in any way when you couldn't?
no,
You couldn't feel it.
no,
No.
no. But all I had was some really severe back pains, and they wouldn't go away, and all the vomiting was happening was because I couldn't pass any water into my bladder,
Okay.
stopping water going from my kidneys into my bladder because of basically all the tubes were compressed. There was nothing happening.
Were they able to tell you for how long it was like it was swollen?
No, but I was like it was advanced, so advanced that the cancer had actually spread into the bone of my spine, and it spread from the base of my spine all the way up to the base of my neck. So, and that's the situation I'm in now. So, so lucky to be walking even.
So the prostrate, it started off with the prostrate, and the cancer slowly spread up through your spine, and over a few years or something.
Well, for however long it was going on, but the good news is it doesn't really spread to soft tissues like your liver or your kidneys. It spreads to your bones. But
Right. So it's more like the bone marrow, is it?
well, it's basically my spine is riddled with cancer from the base to the base of my neck. So that's the situation I'm in.
First of all, when you had the diagnosed the prostate cancer, how long after did they realize it had spread to the spine?
Probably about a week because they started doing. Once I was in hospital, they sent me for a rake of tests, the CAT scans, the X-rays, and they could just see. And it was at that point that the doctors came and told me, "Listen, we've seen all this before. We'll probably give you 3 years max to live." And that was about a year ago now. So I'm doing really well now.
Wow. So when they give that, diagnosis or prognosis of the 3 years to live, is that something that they're just kind of throwing out there, or they do it by individual cases?
No, that's just like we at, at that stage, you're not talking to normal doctors or GPs. You're talking to professionals who are at the top of their game, the heads of the departments. So that like they've seen all this many times before. But on my most recent visit, they're really happy with the way things have worked out so far. So so much. Look, I'm doing so well that my insurance company won't pay my life insurance.
They won't pay it.
Yeah, because I could live for ages. Yeah, catch 22. I'm actually worth. I'm actually worth close to 500,000 dead.
Wow. So, but explain that to us, because they won't pay it before you die, or they won't pay it after.
Yeah, I've got one of these ancient bloody policies that we've been paying for the best part of 30 years. Where
Right.
basically, if you get sick and you've got been given 12 months or less to live, they will pay out.
Oh,
Because everything has moved on since then,
yeah.
and the treatments are so much better. Like my doctor told me the other day, I said, listen, he had a 90-year-old patient who had this, and he lived for 25 years and died of something else. So, so you know yourself, insurance companies do not want to pay out.
So they didn't pay him out in the end, did they?
Oh, but who cares about him? I'm talking about me. Yeah. So doctors, but my local GP is basically telling me, look, you can live for another 25 years. So it's a catch 22 in that, yeah, I'm worth more dead than I am alive, but I'm happy to be alive and relatively poor.
So that's it, yeah, yeah. Well, it's better to have your health than your wealth, isn't it? For sure. Well, so some would say,
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, earlier on in the year, when I came home and I had to deal with the catheter and I was in a great deal of pain. You know, there's the suffering certainly makes you think about your own mortality, but it just makes you stronger in the end.
Yeah. What was there, can I ask you, when you were diagnosed, what was the initial feeling for you? Was it like some hope or total despair? How did you feel?
No, I didn't feel despair, but your heart sinks when you hear news like that. So yeah, it's tough to hear, and I think it was tougher on my immediate relatives and my friends in the band. But I'm still.
Yeah. How did you tell your family? Like, did you tell them together or just tell one and then?
Oh no, I had to see. My sister came and visited, and my sister and my brother flew into Ireland, and they only planned to stay a week. So they travelled from New Zealand 30 hours, stayed here for a week, and then flew home again, which is nuts. You know,
Crazy, yeah.
yeah, yeah. And the other thing is, I told them to wrap up warm, but they were not ready for the cold weather. So all they did was
Nobody is.
all they wanted to do is complain about how cold it was.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
so yeah, I had to send my sister a text with the results and what I'd been told um, while she was. I think she was in Japan on her way home at that time. So it was tough on them, and it was certainly been tough on Mags, but she's been a real trooper, really.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. It is because it's, people kind of think, it's not just the person who has it; it's all the people around them who have to live through it and
Oh, that's
have to,
right.
yeah, and live after if they pass away, of course.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that's it. But, you talk about cancer. I mean, cancer breaks up marriages, it destroys families. There's all this damage that happens. It's not just happening to the person who's got it. There's all these ripple effects that happen for one reason. I think there's a lot of pressure, and this can be very overwhelming for people. So what I do say to people, whenever I get the opportunity, is if you go and get regularly tested for anything,
yeah, yeah.
whether it's cervical smears or prostate tests, your family will thank you in the end.
Yeah, I had a little scare myself about a year ago. When I was 15 or 16, I started doing a carpentry apprenticeship, and I worked with a carpenter in Claregalway for a few years.
Okay.
But about maybe, let me see. I can't. It must be 7 or 8 years ago, or maybe more. He died of mesothelioma, and lung cancer.
Oh
And
yeah,
he had got, well. And what it was though was asbestos poisoning.
yeah,
So of course, when he died, and then I always had this fear. I was thinking, wow, I used to work with him when I was younger, and I remember, we were safe. I mean, but I was trying to think back, because at that time, 30 years ago, we were working in houses, fitting kitchens and changing stuff, and there'd be asbestos on the floors and the ceilings and everything. So I used to think, I was thinking then, wow, I had that fear there. So then what happened was I got this pain in my chest, under my kind of chest there and around my lungs.
yeah,
And it was my ribs, it felt like my ribs. And I know I had injured my ribs when I was doing some exercise, but this pain persisted for months. And when I went to the doctors, they said, oh, you probably just hurt your ribs, it'll be fine. So it kept going on. And then I was thinking, I hope there's nothing wrong with my lungs. So I went to the doctor, and he said, look, we'll send you in for an x-ray. And I remember it was one of these moments where I went in for the x-ray, and there was a little boy ahead of me, and he was x-rayed. And the x-ray technician came out and said to his mother, oh, it's only this or whatever, don't worry. So I went in, and he x-rayed my chest. And when I saw him looking at the sheath inside, and you're thinking, what the hell is he seeing? What's there?
yeah.
And but when he came out, he said, okay, your doctor will talk to you. And I thought, he didn't say anything. So those words, when he said them, I was thinking he didn't want to say anything. And I remember when I was walking out of his office or the thing, I just turned around to look, and he was staring at me. And that stare he gave me frightened the shit out of me, because it made me feel like there's something there, there's something wrong. And so I had to wait 2 or 3 days then to see my doctor. And I went in, and I said, and you know as well as anyone when you're sitting down in front of the doctor and they're going to tell you stuff.
Yeah.
And then he said to me, "It's everything's fine,"
Oh, good.
and I was like, but that it's like that mix of emotions because you're kind of because of everything that happened. I was you face your mortality and you kind of start thinking, what happens now? I've kids and I have a wife, and what and the fear of death and all these things. You start thinking about it. So I can imagine. I was lucky; there was nothing there, and I was very lucky. And because I'd known one or two people who had died from that over the years, and as you said, was it your dad or your grandfather died from that?
My grandfather died of that. He was in the Battle of Jutland in World War One, and he was a gunner. But in between doing that, he was also down under the decks, and those old battleships were full of asbestos,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and and coal powered as well, which didn't help. And he was a heavy smoker, so he died when he was 50. So back when they were smoking, there were no filters on cigarettes; it was just a cigarette.
No,
You know?
no,
So
yeah.
yeah,
So I mean, this is the thing. Yeah, it's like that. I can imagine for you because I was lucky, but for you, then you got the bad news. So you have to face your mortality, and of course, you have to think about everybody else that's in your life. No, these are big thoughts.
yeah. Well, I mean, I'm sort of in the situation where there are no children; it's just Mags. So it wasn't that bad, but yeah, it certainly makes you appreciate the things that you have and the things that you've taken for granted up to then.
Was there, like in the last few months with all your treatment and the chemo, was there moments like you felt like giving up ever, or you've always been strong?
Uh, the only moments that I really felt like, well, I wouldn't say giving up, but it was certainly bring me down was when I went through the process of filling out all the insurance forms, only to be told at the end of it, "Oh, we're not going to pay. You're not sick enough. You're doing quite." The doctors say you're quite well at the moment. So that really annoyed me, and it really got to me because we're talking about quite a large sum of money that
Of course, yeah.
I'm not going to get until and when I do get it, it will be of no use to me because I'll be on the last legs at that point.
In that situation, especially if you're sick and you need help and you need time off work and all this, I mean, that money would be so handy.
Yeah, it would be. Look, I got plenty. I got plenty of time off work. I was, I got paid at least 6 months, and in the end, I thought, well, there's no. I'm not going to go back to this job anyway. I've got better things I want to do with my time than that. So I just ended up resigning from that. And, and I get a small amount from the social welfare each week, and that's, and of course, Mags is still out working; she's doing okay.
For Mags, like going back to how has it been for Mags? I mean, is she? Mags is very strong, I think. Anyway, so how has it been for her?
She's very stoic in that she doesn't really talk a lot about her feelings anyway. But I know it's been tough on her. But I would have really been in a tough place if I'd been a single man living alone. Basically, especially not being an Irish citizen.
The thing is, it's great because I mean that's the one blessing. I'm not religious or anything, but the thing is, it's great when you have somebody there you can rely on and support you. Because maybe if you were on your own, you wouldn't feel like putting up the fight.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the thing is, like for example, one of the drugs I'm on, and I'm on a fair old cocktail of drugs every month. Just one of them is 1,200 euros for one. So if it wasn't for things like the Irish drug scheme where they pay most of that, it would have been absolutely crushing financially, and people just wouldn't pay that. You know,
No, they wouldn't. They wouldn't be able to pay it.
no, they wouldn't be able to pay it. So very fortunate and very very grateful with the way that the system is here, even though it's not completely free. It's still helped me a lot. Yeah.
So tell us, what's your like? You've obviously you've had chemo and you've had some surgeries and stuff. So what's your kind of what do you do now? What's your other alternative stuff you do to prolong everything?
do a lot of meditation now, Simon, and I'm doing a lot of like breathing exercises. I don't know if you've heard of a guy called Wim Hof.
I know the guy. Yeah, he's very good.
Yeah.
I've never done any of his techniques, but I've seen him. He's very
Oh, look,
interesting.
well, listen, there's an app on the phone that you can get. The simplest methods is just as breathing exercises. You do about 30 breaths, and then you hold your breath for as long as you can, and then you let it all out. And you do that's a round, and you do at least 3 or 4 rounds of that. And of course, then there's the very unpleasant side of what he does, which are the ice baths and the cold showers. Which the worst part of it is getting into one.
I've seen a video of him doing the ice baths in the middle of the woods, and
Yeah,
is he Scandinavian or Danish or what? Where is he from?
I think it's Danish. Yeah, but
Danish, yeah.
like it's really helped. As soon as I started doing it, I noticed it really helped. Uh, when the gyms opened after the last lockdown, I started doing swimming at the local pool in Clegorre, hotel. And that was great when I first started. The first day I started, I did one length freestyle and then had to stop for 30 seconds to catch my breath. Okay. Gradually that got better and better. But from day one, I was doing 30 lengths, no matter how long, because I've been swimming and surfing all my life since I was a little kid. I'm well used to water sports. And by the end of it, I could go into a length and then turn around without stopping. But and the other thing I do was swimming underwater, so I could do a half a length of the pool underwater without taking a breath. Now, when I started doing the Wim Hof method with the breathing, I was able to swim a whole length underwater.
Wow, that's brilliant.
Yeah, and then this lockdown happened, and that all had to stop.
Yeah, but can I tell you an interesting story? When I was younger and like in my teens, I used to do karate for a long time, and one
Good.
of the guy I used to train with Andrew Shaughnessy. Me and him were training partners, and Andrew has a gym and he does all the triathlons in Carlastrand.
Yeah.
But what we used to do was before we would go to karate, we would go swimming. So we would train 2 hours doing karate, and then but before we would swim for 2 hours, and our regime at the end, every time we finished swimming, we would do the underwater laps. So
Yeah.
when we started out doing it, like you could do half. But I remember in the end, and this was in the pool in Tuam, the old pool, and it was like 25-meter pool. So in the end, we could do like nearly 2 lengths underwater, and it was just through gradual practice and
Exactly.
controlling your breathing. And but it really makes you feel good when you can do it.
Oh, it does, yeah. Like I've timed myself now because I'm still doing the breathing exercises. The longest I can hold my breath now is 2.5 minutes.
Wow, that's
Now
good.
it is good considering I spent my whole life smoking,
Right? Yeah, yeah.
and I've only recently stopped smoking about a month ago. So yeah,
Wow. Yeah. And you said earlier that you don't drink or do any drugs or anything now, like no weed
well,
or anything.
how I used to, I used to do it a lot. Yeah, like I couldn't wait to get out of hospital and spin up a spliff. It was and when I came out of hospital, I'd been like 2 weeks without a joint. I went and smoked a joint and almost passed out.
Really, it totally took your breath away.
Yeah, I went outside and spoke a joint. I was like, "Whoa, how am I going to? Can I get back in the house now?" Because you got to remember that I had a catheter bag strapped to my leg as well.
Yes,
All
yes,
the,
yes, yeah.
yeah, so I was not.
Will you explain something to me then? Because obviously, a lot of people, my own mother included, have used the CBD oil and stuff. And obviously, the CBD oil, most of the stuff people buy has THC removed. But for what you were going through, did anyone explain to you like the disadvantages of smoking weed or anything while you having that treatment, or what was it doing to you?
Listen, no one in the medical profession here even discussed it with me. So it was just something that I always done. From a teenager, I'd smoked weed, always smoked weed, was never going to stop smoking weed. And it's only recently I thought, yeah, you know what? Uh, I'll give it a crack without it and just see how I feel. Now I'm beginning to wonder if I'll ever go back to it.
Right, right, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
the, uh, what would make me go back to it is if I was in any great deal of pain.
Yeah, just more as a
For pain, it's great, you know. But to be fair, now that I've doing the Wim Hof method with the breathing, and I mean, and I've given up the drink and the drugs. It's like being high all the time anyway when you're doing the regular breathing exercises. I'm full of energy. I've still got the weird, same warped sense of humor. So
yeah. You don't need anything to keep that.
yeah,
Do you think that for regular smokers of weed and cannabis that, they when they get off it, they have to find obviously new alternatives to keep that kind of high, like whether it be sport or other things?
well, it depends if they're casual users or they're just actually abusing it to cover up. See, like I used to smoke it a lot because it would put, it would mean that I didn't have to focus on other negative parts of my life, but maybe what was going on at home, or to fill a void in my life. I just fill it up with weed, you know.
Yeah. And I think it's an easy thing to do because for me,
Don't get me
you
wrong.
know,
Don't get me
yeah,
wrong. Drugs are fun.
yeah, drugs are fun. I mean, the
Yeah.
thing is, like, I don't smoke weed really at all much now. But every couple of weeks, we have a friend that comes down and she visits us, and she'll always have some weed with her. And so every maybe once a month, we'll have a nice little smoke. But it's only a short term thing, and then the next day, because I've seen and I've lived with people who have like abused it, as you said, and it's like anything, like people will say, "Oh, the benefits of weed are great, and weed is great," but anything when it's overdone is not. I mean, if somebody eats too many chocolate cakes, they're going to get fat. If you drink too much, you're going to become an alcoholic. So it's the same with weed or any drugs. You have to use it socially.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's really funny. If there's any sort of cancer I should have, it should be lung cancer, but I don't.
But you don't.
Weed, I'll smoke because I smoked a lot of weed.
Yeah. You've had your fair share. Yeah. And so tell us, when you're doing the Wim Hof stuff and the meditation, how has that changed your outlook on life? And have you kind of looking in different directions now?
Well, it certainly made me a more spiritual person, I think. Although I was always like I was in the first wave of what they would have called the New Age, all the crystals and stuff. Back in the late 80s and 90s. So yeah, it was like a search for self-discovery, really, and it's but everyone's journey is different, of course. You know, Right, for me, like I think I got made to go to Sunday school once, and it was only going there once that made me realize this is not for me. You know, because there's a lot of dogma in those types of religions, and the hierarchies and the way they're set up to operate, and the power structures involved. So no, it wasn't.
Sometimes there's not a huge difference between governments and religions, because the thing about it is it's somebody in control who's passing down rules and regulations, and the people have to adhere to it. And if you don't, you're considered a sinner or whatever. So this is the point. You have to be a spiritual person nowadays, I think. And the thing is, there are so many different holistic therapies out there now. My own sister, Sharon Fitzmaurice, is a big into a lot of this stuff, and she does the angel Reiki and she does the
Oh,
meditation.
okay.
Yeah, she does. She'll actually be on the show in a few weeks, and they have a new book out called Awaken Your Wellbeing, and it's all different therapists giving their views and their types of treatment. So I mean, it's great now that people have all these options. Myself, I'm spiritual, but in my own way. I'm not. I'm not like But saying that, I think however spiritual you are, when you face a crisis in your life or something that tests your own mortality or puts it in front of you, it can change a lot of things. So you can never say never. Someone can say, "Oh, I'd never be into that kind of stuff," or "I'd never look at that," but you don't know.
No, you don't know. And the thing is, there's a lot of scope for all sorts of different treatments. You mentioned Reiki's and angels there. I'm into all that stuff. And people, I don't really care what people think.
Well,
Uh,
it's
it's
your
all right.
life. It's
Yeah,
your
everyone's
life.
on their own journey.
Yeah, yeah. And the thing is, look, if it's like everything, it doesn't matter if you're going to pick out paint for the color of your wall. You might have to buy 5 pots before you find the right color. Life is like that with spirituality and with choices. You have to find the things, and maybe you say, that was rubbish, or that didn't work for me, or that didn't help. But eventually you might find something that benefits you. And what harm is it doing for you trying them? No harm.
No, no, that's right.
It's no harm. This is your life, and the thing is, other people who aren't in the same position can't say to you, "Oh, don't do that. Why are you doing that? That's ridiculous," or da da da, because they don't know. And I mean, do you feel now for you? Are you because you're like on this road to recovery and you're very determined? Are you looking for different things all the time to help you, or are you kind of said, "This is my regime right now"? How are you?
No, I'm always trying different things, and everything is open. I'm not discounting anything. So yeah, it doesn't matter how wacky it sounds. I'm doing it. My favorite thing really is just to put on, go to YouTube, get some Reiki, uh,
Yeah,
and just with some nice music and a nice salt bath.
that's nice. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
just relaxing. Just
yeah,
relaxing. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And a bit of quiet meditation. Yeah, but I mean, first,
De-stressing.
yeah, but like first thing in the morning, I'm up early. I'm doing my meditation. I'm doing my breathing exercise, the Wim Hof method, and I'm finding it's working great for me.
That's brilliant. And come here, just we'll I don't want to stay on this subject too long. The one thing I want to ask you: how has it changed your outlook for the future? Like, are you scared of what's to come, or are you?
So basically, once you've been through something like I have, I mean, it's very easy to just wither up and give up. To be honest with you, I've become quite fearless about everything now. Uh, I'm not really afraid of anything. I'm certainly not afraid of death because I've faced that.
Yeah,
Uh, so no, I'm very hopeful. I mean, and as far as the world situation goes, I think everything's going to be okay.
yeah. And if I was to ask you to for people, for men especially, anyway, with their prostrate, what kind of message would you say to them? Like, do you think people are saying, "Oh, I'll check it tomorrow," or "I'll do it in a few weeks," or what message would you give them?
I would say just go and get it done, and stop messing around. Especially if you have families, because what you're doing really by not doing it is, in a way, you're being quite selfish.
Mm,
You know, and at the end of the day, even if you do get cancer and you end up dying, uh, there's a certain part of ourselves that will go on. Uh,
yeah, of course. And do you think that it's a fear? Most men don't go and get checked because they have a fear of what's there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, see, it's a society thing. Men are conditioned to not go to doctors. And it is a fear, and it's a fear they don't want to face up to or talk about.
They don't want to talk about. Yeah,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure.
To anybody, let alone a doctor. But or a female doctor, even worse. Especially men of a certain. Men are meant to be tough. Men are meant to be the breadwinners. Blah blah blah. That's what society's told us. But it's crap. So just go and get it sorted out.
Well, that's it. I mean, just do it and get on with it. And I think it's a great message, because hopefully when other people hear this, they will think, okay, I've seen what this guy is going through, whether I know him or not. I've seen what he's gone through, and it's hearing another person who's real, whose outlook is on it, rather than looking at an ad on the TV.
Yeah, well, like I said at the beginning, cancer is an epidemic, and it makes the COVID situation seem like nothing really. You got to realize there's 65 million people dying every year, and only a very small percentage of that is COVID, but a much larger percentage of people who die of cancer. And it's totally preventable. All you had to do is go to the doctor, you know. But no, I won't. I put it off, and then by the time you can see a doctor, it's well, I'm sorry, it's spread throughout your spine, and we'll give you 3 years to live.
Yeah, of course, of course, of course. Okay, so listen, let's play a song. Let's play a song.
Okay.
Here we go. Hey Joe, where you going with that gonna shoot my old lady. You know I caught her messing around with another man. And that ain't too cool. Hey Joe, I heard you shot your mama down. You shot her down now. Hey Joe, I heard you shot your lady down. Shot her down in the ground, yeah. Yes I did, I shot her. You know I caught her messing around town. Yes I did, I shot her. You know I caught my own lady messing around town. Hey Joe, where you gonna run to now? Where you gonna run to? Hey Joe, I said where you gonna run to now? Where you gonna go? I'm going way down south, way down to Mexico. I'm going way down south, way down to Mexico. I'm going way down south, way down where I can be free. Ain't no one gonna find you. Ain't no hangman he ain't gonna put a rope around you. You better believe me.
I don't know if you can hear any of that. However,
No, I could. That's the song. That's the kind of song you could play on all night.
yeah.
Do you now? Speaking of guitars, do you still have a big enough collection, or have you narrowed it down?
No, I have a ridiculous amount of guitars for a guy who plays bass. I have about 7. Yeah, 7. They've been sitting in cases, not doing anything. But look, I have probably about the same number of basses. Yeah, you can only play one at a time, so you know.
Do you still have the Steinberg bass?
I do. Yep.
Yeah, the headless bass, no?
Yeah, I still have that. But I mean, I have an Ampeg amp with the 8x10 fridge cabinet.
Really?
No, yeah, no, it was great for the motorcycle rally, so I hope they start up again.
Wow, that's brilliant. Yeah, I mean they're great. But that's the thing with gear. Like when I came over to Spain, I sold a lot of guitars, and
Yeah.
now I have just my trusted Ibanez I've had for years, and I have like a Line 6 guitar, which is great for recording because it has all the different tonal differences. But yeah, I'm kind of looking now at buying new guitar, electric guitar. I'm like, Jesus, maybe,
How are you going to justify this?
yeah, exactly. How am I going to justify it? I'll be like, if this podcast ever makes millions, then I can buy a new guitar. So listen, Dave, I'm going to finish up with you. It's been great chatting, but I'm gonna ask you one or two last questions. So when you look back at everything you've done in your life so far, and I put a caveat in that because you're going to do a lot more. I can see it and I can feel it from you. What's been some of the ones that stand out for you?
I'd say moving to Ireland was one of the greatest things I ever did.
Okay, why was that? Was that because of Mags or the people, or what was it?
No, you know what it is. New Zealand is a great country and everything. Lovely place, lovely beaches, lovely people. But I mean, it is so far away from the rest of the world and what's going on. It takes ages to get away to get there, and the music scene was nothing like the music scene in Galway for live bands is more vibrant than the whole music scene in New Zealand for live bands. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Galway's amazing.
Yeah, New Zealand is such a small place, and it's only the top echelon, the top clicks that get any work anytime.
Yes, yes, yeah.
The rest of the time, it's sports bars and DJs.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
And
where
that, I told that to somebody in Spain. They'll be saying to me, "Oh, why do you think Galway is different to Spain or Madrid?" And I'm like, "Look, if you're walking down the street in Galway and you pick 10 bars, five of them will have music, at least five. If it's
to be fair, most of those bars, the bands would be playing Galway Girl.
yeah, of course, that's the problem. and and if you say, oh, play Galway Girl, they're unfortunately now they're playing the Ed Sheeran version, not even the Steve Earle one. That gets my goat, you know. You
I mean,
know,
more power to Ed Sheeran. I mean, he did well, didn't he?
No, I mean he's done well. You've got to admire the guy because even if you don't like his music, you've got to admire the work he's done. I mean, and he's
Yeah,
you know he's
and he had it all rallied against him with all that ginger hair and everything.
yeah, of course, yeah. Like that's the thing. It's like if you had said 10 years ago, no, this guy won't make it, you would have been totally wrong, wouldn't you? Do you feel one thing? Do you feel that the New Zealand people and the Irish people are very similar?
Well, they are, but a lot of that has to do with the Irish immigration 150 years ago to New Zealand.
To New
You
Zealand?
Yeah, I mean, New Zealand was colonized by the English, but there's a hell of a lot of Irish that went there.
Yeah,
The ones that didn't get deported to Australia went to New Zealand.
yeah. And what's really interesting is you're it's very strange, but you're actually the third New Zealand guy that I've played in bands with or played music with because I used to play in a group called the FNGs, and we had a guitar player from New Zealand. I think he was from Wellington, Connor. I can't remember his last name now, but lovely guy, mad guy too.
I remember actually seeing you guys, I think, play at the King's Head.
Yeah, yeah. So Connor was from New Zealand, and there's a guy that lives down Tuam Headford way, Jeff Ward. Do you know Jeff? No, Jeff Ward is from New Zealand as well, and he is here for a long time, and he plays more traditional music and folk music, and he plays trumpet and all that. So it's amazing. Even around County Galway, there's at least three Kiwi musicians I know.
Oh, okay.
It's great, isn't it?
Well,
it's a new type of immigration here. So okay, so listen, Dave, to finish up, what are your wishes for the future? What's your hopes?
well, I just hope that everything settles down, and there's a lot of peace and love that happens with everybody. Rather, I hope there's an end to war.
Yeah, hopefully. And I have to ask you, as a musician, what music now is kind of getting you through lockdown? What are you listening to?
Well, you know what? We started. Roadhouse started doing this original band, and there was one or two songs there. Like we have songs out there. It's a band called Mercury Mouth, and there's a couple of songs by them. The arrangements were very, very much like classical music. So, and they were very difficult to learn at the time. So, one of the ways I got my head into the space of learning these songs was listening to a lot of classical music. So I still listen to a lot of classical music.
Oh, brilliant, brilliant. And that Mercury Mouth, is the music on Spotify or anything? Can people listen to it?
On Spotify, yeah. And Annie Get Your Gun is the other part of the band. Yeah. So it's split into two. It's a long, drawn out story, but it's split into two different bands: Mercury Mouth and Annie Get Your Gun. But they're basically the same band. So yeah, I highly recommend you have a listen to.
Yeah,
to
well,
Mercury.
you're gonna. Hopefully, you can give me all the links, and we'll point people in the right direction. Once they listen to this, they can go and listen to Spotify and any other links that you think are relevant, even as regards the cancer. If you have any helpful links or anything, you can give me whatever you like. We'll share it as much as we can. So listen, Dave. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure, and all I can say to you is, you've always been a great guy. I've always liked your company, and I love playing with you. And I mean, I admire you for the fight you're putting up at the moment. I think it's brilliant. And where some people might have given up and you don't care, you're just going to fight it out. And the thing is, I can see you living those 25 years you were speaking about, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I try not to fight too much because, but what can happen is you could give the wrong sort of energy to the whole thing. But I'm getting through it. I'm getting through it the best I can, and just being a bit, as better person as I can be.
Yeah, and I mean, the idea for me with these podcasts is to have interesting people with positive messages that can, inspire some people. It doesn't have to be millions. All it has to be is 10 or 20. And those people can be on the road to recovery like you are. And I think you'll do fine. And, I look forward to bringing you back on the show in a few months, and, we'll have a chat and see how you're doing,
Okay, yeah.
So thanks a lot, Dave, and we'll see you soon. Thanks a lot. Cheers.
Big up for the missus.
Yes, big up for the missus. Brilliant,
yeah.
brilliant. Take care of yourself. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Okay, thank you guys for listening. That was David Procter, all the way from New Zealand, but now living in Turlockmore. And that was a very interesting interview, and I hope you listen to Dave's story, and maybe it can help you. Maybe you can help somebody else out there who needs to check something. And, let's not go down that road, everybody, of finding out too late and then nothing can be done. Okay, and we had a little bit of music there. Hey Joe from Jimi Hendrix. We enjoyed playing on that. I hope you liked it too. So, next week's guest is Mr. Leo Moran from Tuam, who also is a founding member of the Saw Doctors, and me and Leo have an interesting chat. So come along next week and join us for that one. Thank you guys, and have a lovely weekend, and take care of yourself. Bye-bye.